Hi, good morning. You must be my 10 o'clock appointment. My name's Lorelei Dump, but please, everyone here calls me Lore, so feel free to do that too. I'm the donor acquisition specialist, and I'll be conducting your interview today. Are you familiar with our process? Of course, no problem. I'm happy to walk you through everything while we're here. So, first off, welcome to the Vampire Sustenance and Sustainability Collection Center. The VSSCC is committed to the ethical collection of blood to feed the vampire residents of Ashwood Grove. In order to do this, we rely on donations from humans, like you. As I'm sure you know, vampires were once naturally inclined to hunt prey. We really are so blessed that the vampiric community here is so committed to ending the hunting of humans. Since the Vampire Equity Act of '99, there has been a 100% reduction in vampire attacks here in Ashwood Grove. It's amazing what happens when politicians focus on the root of a problem and not just a symptom, am I right? And, of course, we need to thank the kind-hearted vampires who have worked tirelessly to happily coexist with humans. Essentially, our role here at the VSSCC is to find willing, healthy donors to provide nutritious, life-sustaining blood. There are a few different ways that you can give. Firstly, if you're approved through our extensive vetting process, you may be a live donor. Yes, don't let the name fool you. It sounds more dramatic than it is. But because vampires were once the greatest predators around, they still crave fresh blood directly from the source. If you're chosen to become a live donor, a vampire will feed directly from you. Oh, I promise it's nothing to be concerned about. The average vampire requires only about a pint of blood per feeding. That's the standard for donating blood at a blood bank. And of course, both the live donor and the vampire are kept under close watch to ensure the donation is comfortable for both parties. That process is very simple. We care about your comfort. So, you'll be tranced by one of our vampire volunteers. They command you to relax your body so the donation can begin. The process should take about 20 minutes to extract a safe amount of blood before the trance will be lifted from you. And because of the trance, the process feels like it only takes a matter of seconds. And you'll be left with a delightful tingle. Many of our donors describe the sensation as pleasant, and often they come back as soon as they're able to donate again. I personally come back every 28 days as a live donor. The second method of giving is through standard donation. We'll collect a pint of your blood through a blood bag to be used in establishments that serve blood across the city. Or they may be given to vampires who are unable, for whatever reason, to drink from a live donor. This method of donating is far less common, but it is so important to our vampiric residents. I mean, just think. How do you feel when you go to a restaurant with your friends and you can't eat anything because of dietary restrictions? Vampires feel this too. So, we feel it's very important for us to provide them with options everywhere they go. It really is a wonderful system. And we're celebrating almost 23 years without a rogue vampire attack. It's all thanks to the efforts of our city's vampires and the human residents, like you, who choose to give. Oh. Yes, I saw that on the news as well. It was such a grisly scene. And tragic, too. So much wasted blood that really could have gone to a hungry vampire in need. But no, I really don't think that situation was caused by a rogue vampire. There are so many other explanations that make far more sense than a rogue. I mean, there was fey blood at the scene. Do you know how hard it is to make a vampire bleed? I'm sure it was probably just a mischievous redcap or something that wandered in through the wards. Or maybe it was even an incubus or succubus. I mean, they did report that torn shirt at the scene. And those fae are known to be extremely hostile. I hate to say it for fear of blaming that poor victim, but it may have been their own doing. We've all heard stories of someone being a little bit too lonely and succumbing to the temptation of summoning one. I mean, it is just such a shame. I mean, their body wasn't even found. I'm confident, though, that this has absolutely nothing to do with us here at the VSSCC. A vampire would never have attacked a human, and they certainly wouldn't have been so wasteful if they had. They would have had to be really sadistic if it was a vampire. And none of the vampires that I've ever met are like that. And I would know. I've had the distinct fortune of meeting many of the vampires who live in Ashwood Grove, and all of them have been just the loveliest of immortals. Truly, they're some of the city's best residents. Anyways, all that said, let's go ahead and move on to your interview, shall we? Because the quality of blood is so important to the health of our vampire community, it is important for us to screen the applicants. And of course, depending upon a number of factors related to your blood, you may be monetarily compensated for your time and donation. Do you have any questions before we begin the interview? Excellent. All right, then let's go ahead and get started. If everything is right as rain with the interview, I'll call you back when we have an opening in the donation center. Unfortunately, because of how popular our services are, it can take a few weeks to get back in for your first donation. Unless, that is, you're interested in giving a standard donation today. If that's the case, then we should have plenty of openings this afternoon after we've reviewed your interview. Now, I'll go ahead and I'll let you think about that, though. With that out of the way, let's go ahead and get started. Our very first question: how old are you? Okay. And what is your blood type? If you do not know your blood type, we can go ahead and perform a blood typing test. Oh, you do know it? Awesome. Okay. That's a really popular type. That's a really popular type. Next question. Do you have any bloodborne illnesses or infections? Right, yeah. While vampires are unlikely to contract any diseases due to their advanced healing factors, it can impact the popularity of your donation because of its flavor. Okay. When was the last date you had your blood drawn for quality control testing? Okay, thank you. Yeah, that's perfect. Have you been following the vitamin regimen that we've outlined for a minimum of 3 months prior to today? And are you willing and able to continue the regimen until the date of your donation and through the end of your time donating with us today? Sorry, that question's a little bit wordy. Right, yeah. Because this is the vampire community's primary source of sustenance, it is crucial for the donations to meet the established threshold for the specific vitamins. It would just be a shame for the vampiric citizen to receive their rations, only for those rations to be nutritionally inadequate. Did that answer your question? Okay, cool. We just have a couple of questions left. How would you describe your activity levels? Okay. Thank you. Are you Fae-touched or Fae-born? Let me go ahead and describe both of those groups really briefly. You would be surprised how many people get the two confused. So, Fae-touched is a human or mortal. They have abilities, though, due to their exposure to Fae Thom. These humans are then able to access magic to cast spells, and are typically classified by their thaumaturgic affinities. The most common affinities are fire, earth, air, and water. But there are many, many more affinities, and new ones are being discovered daily. In fact, I actually met a donor once whose thaumaturgic affinity was thom absorption. They ended up being very popular. The vampires said their blood tasted completely different every time they fed, so it was like a surprise every time. For our purposes today, blood containing more rare affinities are typically considered very valuable, and that could end up affecting your compensation. Now, Fae-born are beings who have at least one Fae parent or were created by the Fae, like changelings. And now I do have to ask, you aren't a changeling, are you? Good, I thought not. I didn't see any identification earrings or scars or anything like that. We're good. Okay, then otherwise, do you fall into one of these categories? Fae-born, Fae-touched? No? You are not Fae-touched, and you are not Fae-born. Okay. And you're not even a standard mortal with exceptional defensive skills. No potential for latent Fae-touched abilities in your family. Do any of your immediate family members have their own thaumaturgic abilities? Oh, no, it's not a problem at all. Like I said, it just deals with the potential compensation. Normal mortals are more than permitted to donate just the same. In fact, some vampires even prefer blood without any thom. They have preferences, just like we do. That is an interesting question. I guess I never really thought of it like that. Vampires are classified as Fae-born. You do bring up an interesting point, though. They were mortal humans before the change. After the transformation, though, the mortal part of them is absolutely gone. They need to make room for that new Fae part of them. Anyways, let's go ahead and start wrapping up. Were you referred here today by a friend or family member? Yeah, no, that's all right. If you have anyone that you would like to refer, you might receive additional compensation for each successful donor who signs up with your name. Just keep that in mind for the future, okay? Anyways, let me go ahead and look over your answers one more time to make sure everything is squared away. And yep, yeah. Okay, it looks like we are all set. Okay, well, that brings us to the end. Thank you so much for coming in to complete your interview. We'll give you a call if you pass this around and are chosen to move on to donating. And from everyone here at the VSSCC, thank you for your commitment to helping to feed our vampire community. After all, a fed vampire is a happy vampire. We'll call you soon. Bye now.